Hey there, bassists. Today we're going to be talking about and learning about the different parts of the bass. Before we dig in, you should probably know that the bass has a lot of different names. While some people call it the bass, others call it the double bass, the contrabass, the upright bass, the stand-up bass, the string bass. The list really goes on. I'm just letting you know this now in case you ever hear or see a different name. For our purposes, I'm probably going to be calling this instrument the bass or the double bass. At first sight, the instrument can be pretty intimidating. Let's take a moment to just take a look at the instrument and make some observations. Probably the first thing you notice about this instrument is that it's very large. Despite its size, it actually isn't too heavy, and that's because it's hollow inside. The instrument is made entirely out of different pieces of wood and metals that have been specifically selected for their tonal properties and/or appearance. First things first, these metal cords that I'm pointing at are called strings. The bass has 4 of them. They're called G, D, A, and E. Let's start from the top of the instrument. This part I'm pointing at is called the scroll. The scroll is called the scroll because, well, it looks like a scroll. It looks like a piece of paper scrolled up. The scroll is one of the most defining features of any string instrument. A lot of older instruments have intricate scroll designs, but over time the design of all instruments had evolved and simplified. Within the scroll, we have what's called the peg box. The peg box refers to the space within the scroll where we have a couple of different moving parts. On the sides of the scroll, we have the tuning mechanisms or tuning machines, which actually make their way inside of the peg box. You'll notice that there's one for each string, so 4 in total. Let's take a second here to follow the strings from the peg box all the way to the end of the instrument. On the way down, we're going to be mentioning other instrument parts. First up, we have the nut, which is made out of a wood called ebony. The nut slightly raises the strings up so that they may resonate. Just beyond the nut, we have the fingerboard, which is also made out of the same type of wood, ebony. Ebony is a great choice for instruments because it's very hard and dense, and it won't be damaged by the strings. As we follow the fingerboard and the strings all the way down, we eventually reach another piece of wood called the bridge. The bridge is arguably the most sensitive and the most important piece of wood on the entire instrument. It's typically made out of spruce, which is a softer wood that helps to transfer vibrations. Most bass bridges nowadays have bridge adjusters, which are meant to raise and lower the bridge to the desired string height. Let's keep it moving. If we continue to follow the strings down, we reach yet another piece of ebony called the tailpiece. If you follow the tailpiece all the way to the bottom of the instrument, we reach another small piece of ebony similar to the nut called the saddle. Like the nut, the saddle is meant to slightly lift up the tailpiece. Just beyond the saddle, underneath the instrument, we have what we call the end pin, which allows us to adjust our instrument height. Let's follow the strings back towards the bridge so that we may introduce a couple of additional parts. Just under the feet of the bridge, we have the top, a large piece of wood usually made up of 2 pieces of spruce. The top is the main resonating piece of wood for the entire instrument. When a string is played, the vibrations transfer from the bridge to the top of the instrument. Those vibrations then spread out and eventually transfer to the rest of the instrument. If we turn the instrument around, we get to see what's called the back of the instrument. The back refers to the entire piece of wood, which is also made up of 2 pieces of wood glued together, usually maple, but other woods have been used. Having the instrument facing this way also allows us to see what's behind the fingerboard. This piece of wood that I'm pointing at is called the neck. And it's where your left thumb will be spending most of its time when you're playing this instrument. The neck is also usually made up of maple wood. You'll notice that at either end of the neck, there are curves. These curves are meant to help us out a little bit, but more on that later. For now, you should only know that the bottom curve here is called the neck heel. So if we turn the instrument to its side, we'll be able to see the ribs. The ribs are typically made out of whatever wood was used to make the back of the instrument. And the ribs follow the entire outline of the instrument, all the way around. The top and the back are connected to the ribs. Bass ribs can be anywhere from 6 to 12 or more inches deep. I would say the average is about 10 inches deep. If we have the instrument facing forward again, we'll be able to take a look at the upper and the lower bouts. Here I'm pointing to the upper bout, which refers to this entire area. Similarly, the lower bout refers to this entire area. Occasionally, you may hear people referring to the body of the instrument. The body just refers to all of these parts and sections together. So this is the body. Last but not least, we have these holes that are a beautiful shape on the top of the instrument. They're shaped like the letter F and are thus called F-holes. If you take a peek inside of the F-holes, you might be able to find the last part of the bass. The last part of the bass is called the sound post, and it's a long piece of wood that runs from the top all the way to the back of the instrument. And it transfers the vibrations from the bridge to the top, to the sound post, to the back, and the ribs. It's basically the connecting piece that allows the vibrations to go through the entire instrument.